The first time I met Princess Velyra of the Xylos Empire, she was pretending not to understand laughter. Which was strange because according to the Galactic Council's public archives, she had spent 12 standard years studying humanity, our wars, our art, our psychology, our contradictory moral codes, and our baffling habit of joking at funerals. But when I laughed during our first meeting, she tilted her luminous silver head and asked, very seriously, "Is that a distress signal?" That was the moment I realized something important. The most advanced civilization in our sector didn't understand us at all. Beginning, the princess who studied us. The Sarathians arrived in Earth orbit without firing a single shot. Their ships, vast crescent-shaped constructs of silver-white alloy, simply appeared above our planet like new moons. They did not demand surrender. They did not transmit threats. They requested dialogue. That alone terrified half the governments on Earth. The other half prepared nuclear codes anyway. Within 3 weeks, a diplomatic summit was organized aboard their flagship, the Velyra. And for reasons I still don't fully understand, I was chosen as part of humanity's cultural envoy. Not because I was a soldier, not because I was a politician, but because I was a behavioral psychologist specializing in cross-cultural adaptation. Apparently, someone decided if we were going to meet aliens, we might as well bring someone who studied weird behavior for a living. That's how I found myself standing in a chamber made of living crystal, staring at a being whose species had mastered faster-than-light travel before humans invented the steam engine. Princess Velyra. She stood taller than any human woman, her skin a faint opalescent blue that shimmered with subtle light. Her eyes were large and multifaceted like polished gemstones, reflecting colors that didn't quite exist in our visible spectrum. She wore flowing garments woven from what looked like liquid starlight. And she was watching me the way a scientist watches a newly discovered organism. "Human Daniel Reyes," she said, her voice transmitted through a harmonic translator embedded in the chamber walls. "You are designated specialist in human cognitive emotional patterns." "Most people just call me a therapist," I replied. She blinked slowly. "Therapist. It means I listen to people complain about their lives and then charge them for advice." A pause. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Is this an admission of exploitative behavior?" I laughed, and she straightened instantly. "There. That sound. Is it distress? Aggression? Social submission?" "No," I said, still smiling. "It means I think something is funny." She stared at me for a long time. "In 12 of your planetary years studying your species," she said carefully, "I have not found a consistent definition for funny. That makes 2 of us." And just like that, the most advanced alien princess in known space frowned in confusion. Over the next several weeks, I became her assigned cultural liaison. Officially, the Sarathians wanted to determine whether humanity was ready for inclusion in the Interstellar Accord. Unofficially, I was fairly certain Princess Velyra wanted to solve us like a puzzle. She had studied our literature, Shakespeare, Tolstoy, Maya Angelou. She had analyzed our wars and revolutions. She had reviewed our media archives, from historical speeches to cat videos. Yet there was something she could not quantify. "You are contradictory," she told me one day as we stood overlooking Earth from the observation balcony. "Your species demonstrates both extreme violence and extreme compassion. You form tribal divisions, yet you speak of unity. You destroy your environment, yet you attempt to save it." "Yeah," I said. "We're a mess." "Why?" I shrugged. "Because we feel." She turned to me sharply. "We feel." "Not like that," I said quickly. "I mean, we feel a lot. Sometimes more than we can handle." She studied my face, her luminous eyes scanning micro-expressions. "Emotion is inefficient," she said. The Cerathian Empire evolved beyond erratic emotional impulses millennia ago. And how's that working out for you? She hesitated. Our civilization is stable, orderly, logical, and lonely. Her gaze snapped to mine. Define lonely. I held her stare. It's when you're surrounded by people but you still feel alone. For the first time since I'd met her, Princess Velyra did not immediately respond. Middle. The question she was afraid to ask. Weeks turned into months. The Cerathians did not invade. They did not withdraw. They observed. And Velyra kept asking questions. Why do humans risk their lives for strangers? Why do parents sacrifice for children who may never repay them? Why do artists create works that bring them no material gain? Why do lovers choose each other, despite logic dictating more advantageous partnerships? She studied us the way a mathematician studies chaotic equations. But there was one topic she avoided: romance. Until one evening, we were seated in a chamber designed to replicate a human environment. Wooden textures, simulated gravity variations, even an artificial fireplace. She had requested it. I have examined human bonding rituals, she began. That's a very clinical way to say dating. Her gaze flickered. Yes, dating. She projected holographic imagery into the air. Weddings, couples holding hands, old partners sitting together on park benches. Your species frequently selects mates based on subjective attraction rather than optimal genetic or political compatibility. True. Why? Because we like each other. That is insufficient. I smiled. It's actually kind of the whole point. She tilted her head, studying me again. Human Daniel, she said slowly, you have spent significant time in my presence. I have observed your physiological responses. Your heart rate increases during our conversations. Your pupil dilation shifts. I coughed. That's probably the lighting. The lighting is calibrated. Right. She stood, moving closer. I must ask directly, she said, her voice softer now. From a human perspective, am I considered attractive? Ah, there it was. The question she'd been building toward for months. The alien princess who had studied humanity for 12 years. The being who could calculate orbital mechanics in her head. She wanted to know if she was beautiful. For a moment, I just looked at her. Her luminous skin. Her intricate, almost crystalline eyes. The faint glow that pulsed beneath her surface, like starlight trapped in living form. But that wasn't what made her beautiful. You want a scientific answer, I said. Yes. Too bad. She blinked. I'm giving you the human answer. She didn't interrupt. You're beautiful, I said, not because of symmetry or biology or evolutionary preference. You're beautiful because you're curious. Because you crossed light years not to conquer us, but to understand us. Because you ask questions even when you're afraid of the answers. Her breathing shifted, barely perceptible, but I'd learned her tells. And because I continued, for someone who claims to have evolved beyond emotion, you care an awful lot about what one human thinks. Silence. The glow beneath her skin intensified, soft violet light blooming across her cheeks. I froze. Is that normal? I asked carefully. Her voice came quieter than I'd ever heard it. This chromatic shift is not voluntary. Is it dangerous? No, another pause. It is analogous, she said slowly, to what humans describe as blushing. I stared at her. The princess of the Cerathian Empire. Blushing. You studied us for 12 years, I said softly. But you never accounted for this, did you? She shook her head almost imperceptibly. No, for the first time. She wasn't analyzing me. She was experiencing something. But the galaxy does not pause for personal revelations. 3 days later, the High Council of Sarathia transmitted their verdict. Humanity was deemed unstable, emotionally volatile, militarily unpredictable. They recommended limited containment rather than full Accord membership. In simple terms, supervision. Velyra summoned me immediately. They fear your emotional variance, she said. They view it as a threat to galactic equilibrium. And what do you think? She hesitated. I believed them.
Ouch.
But, I prompted. She stepped closer. But I have observed something they have not. And that is, your emotions are not weaknesses. They are catalysts. She paced slowly. You feel fear, yet you explore. You feel anger, yet you forgive. You feel love, yet you risk loss. I smiled faintly.
Yeah,
that's kind of our thing. She turned to me, eyes glowing brighter now, not with embarrassment, but conviction. The Council sees chaos. I see potential. And I intend to argue for your species. You'd challenge your entire empire for us? Her gaze locked onto mine. For you, she corrected softly. My heart skipped. Ending. The answer that changed everything. The Council Assembly was unlike anything on Earth. Thousands of Sarathian figures arranged in concentric circles of light, their combined luminescence turning the chamber into a living star. Velyra stood at the center. I stood behind her, one human among an empire of ancient beings. You advocate for an emotionally unstable species, one elder intoned. Yes, Velyra replied calmly. They war among themselves. Yes. They damage their own biosphere. Yes. Then why defend them? She paused, and for a brief second, she glanced back at me. Not for guidance. For courage. Because, she said clearly, they choose to be better. A murmur rippled through the chamber. They are flawed, she continued, but they are aware of their flaws. They struggle. They strive. They sacrifice for ideals not yet realized. She lifted her chin. They're not dangerous because they feel. They are powerful because they feel. Silence fell. An elder's gaze shifted to me. Human, the being said. If granted entry into the Accord, what would your species offer the galaxy? I swallowed. No pressure. I thought about war. About art. About laughter. About a princess who blushed because one human told her she was beautiful. We'd offer hope, I said finally. A ripple of confusion passed through the assembly. Clarify. We mess up.
Constantly.
But we keep trying. We dream about futures we don't deserve yet, and then we fight to build them anyway. We don't give up on each other. Not permanently. I looked at Velyra. And if the galaxy's as orderly and stable as you say, maybe what you need isn't more control. I smiled slightly. Maybe you need a little chaos. There was a long, heavy silence. Then the chamber lights shifted. Not red, not white, gold. Accord acceptance. Humanity was in. Weeks later, as Earth celebrated its official induction into the Interstellar Accord, I found myself once again on the observation balcony. Velyra stood beside me. You have altered the trajectory of 2 civilizations, she said quietly. Pretty sure you did most of the work. She studied Earth below. I spent 12 years analyzing your species, she said. Yet the variable I failed to account for was proximity. Proximity. Yes. She turned to me. It is difficult to reduce a species to data when one individual makes your internal systems destabilize. I grinned, still blushing. A faint violet shimmer crossed her cheeks again. This response remains inconvenient. Good. She raised a brow. Good. Means you're still feeling. She was silent for a moment. Human Daniel, she said softly, may I ask one more question? Always. If I had not been a princess, if I had simply been a Lyra, would your answer have changed? I didn't hesitate. No, her glow brightened. Then I believe, she said, almost shyly, I require further study of humanity. I laughed. That a distress signal? She asked lightly. No, I said, meeting her luminous eyes. That's happiness. And as Earth rotated beneath us, no longer alone in the cosmos, I realized something profound. The galaxy thought humanity's greatest strength was our resilience, or our adaptability, or even our recklessness. They were wrong. Our greatest strength was simple. We make even the most advanced beings in the universe feel something they thought they'd evolved beyond. And sometimes, that's enough to change the stars.